Hello, good afternoon. I'm Stephen from Prop Store. Welcome to the preview exhibition for our entertainment memorabilia live auction taking place in London. You can see I have a whole host of treasures, wonderful artifacts all around me. And what we're going to do is we're going to take you on a tour of this afternoon. I think if you'd like to see any of this in person, then please get in contact with us. This is open to the general public. If you can't get here to see anything in person, we can arrange Zoom calls for you as well if you'd like to look at anything in greater detail and more close up. So I've got the white gloves on, which means you're going to see some great stuff, some exciting artifacts. And we're going to start here with front cover piece for our auction. We're really proud and excited this year to be working with Anthony Daniels, the Anthony Daniels collection, which is comprised of over 150 artifacts spanning Alex Daniels' career um, in his time working as the lovable protocol droid C3PO. And this is what we have right here. This is C3PO's head from Star Wars A New Hope, the very first Star Wars film. What's really exciting about this is the fact that not only is it from the first film, it's incredibly rare and hard to find artifacts like this from the first movie, but this is actually screen matched to a number of key sequences in the film. So what we're looking at here are the dents that we have in the head, and these dents that are here weren't actually cast into it. They were sculpted into it. So what they did was they took a full and complete faceplate, they cut these panels out, inserted some putty, and then sculpted the putty in to give this particular detail. So I'm going to move to one side so George can get in a little bit tighter. There we go. And what that means is for a couple of key scenes in the film, we can actually screen match this. So to the sequence with the trash compactor where C3PO is on the link to Han and Luke and Leia, we can actually see, there we go, we've got it on stream view at the moment. We've got the dents that match up, and also to the medal ceremony sequence at the end of the film where we actually see C3PO head, full C3PO costume in a really high finish. It's got the light up eyes to it as well. I know this was quite an uncomfortable thing for Anthony Daniels to wear as it's such a tight fitting form to the head. But I like that from the first of the Star Wars movies. Moving on from the C3PO head, we have another great piece from Star Wars A New Hope. Tilt this towards you just very carefully, George, just so we can get a better shot of that. There we go. I love the distressing, the teching, the weathering on this that you can see all over this. Even though this is 40 plus years old, a lot of this distressing that you see on it is relevant and pertinent to the film. This is not something that's through age. And a lot of that distressing we can actually match up on screen. This is unique to this particular helmet. So this detail is unique to TIE fighter pilot helmets, I should say, rather, is the only one that has this silver mohawk with this distinctive detail. And this helmet is screen matched to the sequence in A New Hope as the Millennium Falcon escapes from the Death Star. And this is one of the TIE fighter pilots that actually attacks the Millennium Falcon at that time. So I love the design of this. Of course, it's made up of a Stormtrooper faceplate that you can see here. And then this is a Rebel pilot on top of it. So they've amalgamated the two together and it just looks so menacing. And so very, very Star Wars. That distressed and dirtied and real world look that George Lucas really wanted to bring to sci-fi film at a time where a lot of the sci-fi that was being distributed was really presenting it in a much cleaner environment. So very, very relevant to the way that the Star Wars films look. So you can see behind me, I've got the first cabinet of goodies here that we're going to show you. I'm going to say, if you've got it, as I said before, if you've got any questions, if you want to throw them up on the stream, then please do so. We'll try and answer them either while we're live or we'll come back to you afterwards and answer in the thread. So George, if you want to come in and take a look at what we've got here. So we're going to start at the top of the cabinet, sticking with Star Wars. It is just a folder. It has just got a rather crude drawing of R2-D2, illustration of R2-D2 there on the front. This is John Steers' original technical manual for droid manual for R2-D2. It's one of about a half a dozen droid manuals that we have in the auction. So please check out the full catalogue when it goes live. Next door to that, we have a Hoth Trooper production-made helmet. with a replica bib. So the helmet itself, the top part, if you like, there that you can see, which is slightly more yellowed than the more modern white bib underneath it. To the right of that, we have a shoe, which is a bit of an unusual one for Star Wars. We have the future boots from time to time and other trainers, but this one was actually used by ILM for an effect shot in Return of the Jedi. It was sort of quite mythical for many years. This is that actual shoe as it was used as one of the spaceships in the Return of the Jedi. Coming over to the left of the cabinet, I think here, George, we've got a couple of prequel lightsabers. So we've got Mace Windu's lightsaber, and then we've got Palpatine's saber as well. I love the Palpatine saber. Actually, it's a really heavyweight piece of tech. It's actually machined metalwork, probably aluminium, brass work there as well. So when you pick that up, it really has some weight to it as well. Coming down below that, we have some more of the Anthony Daniels collection. So we have three of Anthony's script from A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. You can actually see Anthony's name there along the top of it, and it's stamped with the ILM stamp on there as well. And a number of the pages in some of these scripts have been annotated by Anthony too. And actually, the first script, the New Hope one here, just down at the bottom, is actually the very first draft that was given to Anthony by George Lucas for him to read through. So he always said that that's really was too precious for him to write within. So we have other excerpts from A New Hope that do have his annotations in, but that's actually as mint and as crisp as he could keep it for the decades that he's held on to it. And across to the cabinet there in the middle, we have a wonderful Ralph McQuarrie illustration from Empire Strikes Back, the Vader helmet in flames. And this was drawn up by Ralph McQuarrie, inspiration of the cast and crew patch that has become such a recognizable piece of art over so many years. But that is the original pen and ink sketch there. It's on almost like a vellum, like a tracing paper or a vellum, very lightweight, and it's multi-layered as well. We have some other iterations of that in the auction as well. So not only this key piece of art, but there are some other versions of that in the auction if when you get a chance to have a look at the catalogue. Swinging across to the right, back to the Anthony Daniels collection now. There are over 150 items from Anthony in this sale. And within the catalogue, it has its own section as well. And it's going to be the evening part of day two, the evening session for day two of the auction for some of his collection pieces. So these fingers are actually the articulated fingers from A New Hope. We've had them mounted just to try and give them a little bit more presentation and display them. Very rare. These are the only A New Hope finger pieces that I've come across. We actually have a hand plate that's come from another source also in the auction as well. And they're rare just because they really didn't stay together. They were just slotted onto gloves. They would fall off during filming, during production. Anthony managed to hold on to a couple over all of these years. Down just below that, we have the later versions of the C-3PO hands. So these would have been used for either Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. Really tough for us to tell specifically at this point which of those two films it could have been used for. Again, it's a wonderful set because we have seen these hands before, but so rarely do we have all the sort of the greaves and accoutrements, the dressing, if you like, because these break off and drop off and snap off very easily, certainly during filming and during subsequent handling. I'm very careful with them now. But that's a really nice pair of hands. And then below that, a pair of the feet. Again, it's quite rare actually to see these with the clips that we have, poppers that go around the back of the shoe there as well. To hold them in place. And you can see that they're quite silvering, and that's really just the way this sort of vacuum metallizing or Stein art has gone over the years. Some of these materials, of course, were only designed to be used for a few hours of filming or a few days or a few weeks of filming. And nobody was really thinking about the longevity and the sort of cultural significance, the historical significance, how these things would be regarded in years to come. In the middle there, an X-Wing fighter. Look at the detail on that. Phenomenal model miniature X-Wing fighter. This was actually an art department reference maquette for Blue Leader, and it was used during the Andor TV series. And the engines on this light up, the cockpit on this lights up as well. Beautifully built, beautifully weathered and distressed and painted. Moving away from Star Wars, even though we just shown you a small amount here, there are over a couple of hundred Star Wars artifacts in the auction. So please do check out the full catalogue. We can't cover everything today, or certainly have everything on display in the exhibition. Indiana Jones, Indy films, big part of my childhood, big part of my youth. On the left here, we have Harrison Ford's whip from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Now, this is actually a whip that Harrison Ford donated to a charity auction a number of years ago. So it comes with a little notelet handwritten by Harrison Ford there down at the front as well, which specifically states that this was his whip used during the film Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So no better provenance than that. Sticking with Temple of Doom, we have a Sankara stone there in the middle. So the Sankara stones, there were a variety of different styles of stones that were made. So this is I'm just going to pick this up very carefully because it should be around that way. There we go. So you can actually see the stripes that have sort of been cut into the stone here. And they made a couple of different, or a few different variations of this. This is the sort of solid version that you see pre-light, of course. They also had the glowing versions, which were made of a crazed acrylic, which had a light source in them as well. So a great little hand prop there from Temple of Doom. And to Raiders of the Lost Ark, uh, signature shirt that's so familiar. Of course, so many people have seen Harrison back in Dial of Destiny. The history that goes with this, more modern history that goes with this as well, is that this is actually the shirt that was borrowed by the production from the collector to use as the template for remaking the new shirts to make sure that they had the style and design absolutely spot on to the original film. As you're looking at the shirt, you can see that one pocket is slightly lower than the other, one pocket's higher than the other. And also, as you look at it, you can see that the way that the stitching in the shirt really ruffles down the bars that you've got on either side of this. Now those particular details have allowed us to screen match this shirt to multiple scenes in the film. I think most excitingly, to the sequence in the film where Harrison Ford he finds the golden idol, retrieves the golden fertility idol right at the beginning. So this is the shirt that he's wearing for some of that shot, and we can see on screen now. We can see on screen now that it matches to that scene, and then it was also in some of the Cairo street scenes as well. In the back of the shirt, yeah, it has the Western Costume label. So Western Costume, one of the companies that did some of the costuming for this film, and it's typed with Harrison Ford's name in the back of it there as well. So a really amazing collection of just three pieces there from Indiana Jones. We have others in the film as well, but as I say, please check out the full catalogue. But those are just so exciting to see together. Excuse me, talking a lot. So from Indiana Jones to aliens, we're going to move on to the middle cabinet here. So this is a xenomorph head, an alien creature head from the 1986 movie. You can see that it's covered in essentially a varnish or a high gloss finish there that's actually sort of bonded to this particular head, designed to give it that really sticky, glossy look and slimy look that you see in the film. Rare because it comes with this neck piece. Neck pieces very, very rarely survive. This would have had sort of like a rubber band element that was fitted here, which has unfortunately just perished and rotted away. So they used that as sort of part of the jaw dressing and the jaw mechanism. And so a really, really nice, complete example. And then down below that, we have pulse rifle from Aliens, and that's a stunt version. So this will be a non-practical version that was used for probably a lot of the action sequences where they're sort of running around where they're lightweight, where they don't want to injure the actors or damage perhaps the live fire weapons that they made for the film as well. On the shelf down below that, I think for me is probably one of the most exciting Aliens pieces that we've come across for a while, and it wasn't even known that this piece still existed. There was no record of this piece. It only surfaced very recently. This is the original model miniature, the smaller scale model miniature APC from Aliens. So this was used for the sequences where the APC is coming out of the dropship and running across the alien terrain. It's made specifically of lightweight materials, so some of this is made of resin and fiberglass. Other elements of it are made of balsa wood, excuse me, to keep the weight down as light as possible. It is still fully remote control. It comes with its original control unit, amazingly, from production. It comes not only with its original wheels, it also has 4 original production spares and then a modern set of spares that have been made just in case anybody wants to drive this around at nearly 20 miles an hour. I wouldn't necessarily do that myself or recommend it, but it is still fully practical, lights up as well. The gun on the top here, it can actually be positioned into 2 positions. So this is one of the positions, and then you can take it off. It is a question of lifting the body off the rest of the gear, unscrewing it, and then mounting it to the back of the body as well, because of course we do see the gun turret in a couple of different positions in the film. And there are actually holes in the back of it where you can see where it was fixed. Interesting enough, we have the light and the grille detail here. These are just resting here at the moment, and they weren't fixed to it when it came into us. You can actually see on the bodywork underneath where the registration marks are, where it was mounted, where they were mounted at one point. But when we went to check the film, we actually noticed that for the sequence where it comes out of that dropship, they're not there. So there was obviously a call made at some point in time, because of course that is a bit of a continuity gaffe, because it is on the full-size version, it is on the larger scale miniature as well. For this particular scene, maybe it was something to do with clearance as it was coming out of the model miniature dropship, but they do come with it. So it's a great set. That also comes with scripts, call sheets, crew jacket, crew jumper. I mean, it's a complete archive that goes together with that. Has had some synthetic restoration. You can see here, for example, that this gun piece here is in black, and this one is in the original sort of olive drab green. This is the one that's been recreated as it was missing. And similarly, on the wheel hubs here, the hubcaps here, we've got a couple in black here, where the rest of it's green, and that's where these tabs are just snapped off over years, and they've been synthetically replaced. But it's a great scale as well, that. I mean, look at it sitting on the shelf there, very easy to handle and manage. Wonderful, wonderful piece. Next to that, sticking with Aliens, we have Hicks's Hero Knife. I'll just probably catch a little bit of light with that. You can see that it is a proper steel-bladed knife with a metal handle as well. This is the original teeth for it. You can still see the tape marks there. It was taped on to his costume as well. So great hero prop there. That was also part of the costume too. Moving to Alien, we've got Terry Rawlings' original script. He was editor on Alien. And this is just full of annotations and amendments and edits and changes. I would really encourage any Alien fan to take a look at that and drill down into some of the content that's in there. It's a phenomenal historical document that's well worth spending a few minutes looking at the photos online when the author catalogue goes live on the 10th. Moving down from there to Lost in Space. So from Lost in Space, the modern iteration of Lost in Space, the 1998 film. This is the Jupiter 2 model miniature. Again, highly detailed, lots of work there. It's a resin fiberglass shell, has a metal armature. It has multiple motion control mounting points, one in the back where this particular stand has been mounted. There's one on the underside, one in the side as well. It also lights up. You can actually see curled up underneath the acrylic stand there, the power unit there to light this up as well. Again, once you dive into the catalogue, you'll be able to see that fully lit up. And then Back to the Future, we've got a nice collection of Back to the Future items in the auction. So this is, I'm going to get down the hoverboard. So this is obviously from Back to the Future Part 2 and Part 3. This is a lightweight hoverboard. So this is made of the foam material, but again, a really, really nice example. This particular board hasn't been on the market now for probably over 10 years, maybe as long as 15 years. So it's really great to see this one come back out. And I think it's exciting because it's so complete as well. And then of course it has the hole there for the handlebars too. Just carefully pop it where it stand. And then sticking with Back to the Future Part 2, we've got Michael J. Fox's Marty's Trilby hat there as well, which is labelled on the inside bottom hat, and it's been specifically made for Michael J. Fox for the film as well. Seen in some great shots in the movie. All right, can you get back up there, George? How your knees doing? All right. Excellent. Okay, so I hope you're keeping up with me. I'm giving loads of information. You'll obviously be able to rewind and replay this if I'm going too quickly for you. Got a lot to get through, so we're going to move on to the top of the next cabinet. From Red Sonja, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger's sword. So this is again an action sword. I'm sort of hesitant to call it a stunt sword because stunt to me really means more sort of rubberized, but this is certainly an action sword. You can see that it's made of a resin fiberglass. You can see some of the fiberglass weave there in the blade, where it's been so all these dinks in there and chips, where it's been heavily used and sword fighting on set. Down below that, a very, very recognizable sword, the katana from Highlander. So this is the Ramirez katana from Highlander. We actually sold this sword for the first time probably about 10 years ago. I'd say it was probably about 2014. Um, Great to see it's still retained its sheath. We've had a few of the katanas over the years, but this is in wonderful condition. Hero blade as well, high polished hero blade that you can see just poking out from beneath the sheath as well. The right of that, from Raging Bull, we have Robert De Niro's boxing shorts. And then to the left of that, we have from the Karate Kid part two or part three. We can't be too specific on this, whether it's part two or part three. We can tell that it's not part one, and that's actually down to some of the detailing on here. When we looked at this originally, I believe it's to do with the sort of frequency and the spacing between the dots allows us to know whether this is a part one headband. So we know it's not one, it's one or two, but still one of the signature pieces that you'd want to have from the Karate Kid series of films. Down below that, we have from Pulp Fiction, from the 1994 film. This is John Travolta's special effects pistol. This is very cool, actually. I mean, we do get to handle a few guns, but this one is specifically special effects. I'm just going to bring it out of the case. I don't know whether you can get a focus on that or light on that. You can see that in the end here, there's a sort of array of trees that have been mounted up inside this, still original to the production. But they are the sort of things that perhaps could come out by the future. It's a decision by the future owner, because there could be some risk there with corrosion. Though with a piece like this, it's not really risking any permanent damage at this stage. Anyway, I'm not pointing the gun too closely at George, and then keep my hand well off the trigger there. You can see in the end here, there's a squib mounting point as well. I don't know whether you can get that on camera, George. Hopefully, you might be able to see some of that too. So I'm just going to pop it on the stand very carefully. And then down below, moving away from weapons to something a little bit more cuddly from Paddington 2. So this is Paddington's hat. And of course, Paddington Bear in the film is animated. He's digital. There are a number of occasions in the film where the digital Paddington is interacting with the family in live action. And so they have to have these props that go with it. And this is his very recognizable hat. And actually, just down beside that is his marmalade sandwich. It looks like a proper piece of bread wrapped up in paper here, but this is just a piece of rubber. Great piece of prop building. And then the pop-up book as well, which of course was such a signature prop that we saw as part of the film too. In the middle here, really rare pieces to surface. Again, not been seen for many, many years. From Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, we have Captain Black and Captain Blue. Now, let's just emphasize what's original to production and what's replica here. So the original components for Captain Black here is the head. And then the rest of the body, the puppet, has been built and crafted for display and presentation purposes. Really exciting about both of these, and I think we can show you the insides of these, is that they actually have all of the mechanics. There we go. We're seeing the inside of Captain Black's head there at the moment. But look at that. Look at the genius craftsmanship there from by Jerry Anderson and his team. And then similarly for Captain Blue, this is, as far as I'm aware, all original components. And this hasn't been messed with at all. And then again, the back of the head is affixed through magnets, and it has the similar detailing on the inside of that as well. Just to the right of that, we have this humongous door knocker from Labyrinth, very, very recognizable. In Labyrinth, of course, you see these, I think there's a pair of these together that come to life. They're animated, and by the Henson Company. So the face here is actually all made of foam rubber. So that's reasonably delicate, reasonably fragile. You can see a little bit of cracking here. This has had some sympathetic restoration over the years. And then the door knocker itself here is made of a sort of a resin or fiberglass material, so that's quite sturdy. And then the back plate that it's mounted on is something just for presentation purposes only, but full of character there. I absolutely love that piece. Talking of character, we've got one of the cutest little guys in the show. So this, of course, is Gizmo from Gremlins 2. We've had a number of Gizmos over the year. This one looks a little bit concerned, actually, doesn't he? A little bit scared, perhaps. Don't be scared. And that's because he has an interchangeable face. So the way the genius Rick Baker and his team recognized these was actually having interchangeable faces. So underneath this is an animatronic armature sculpted into a fiberglass shell, which allowed some movement, but to get full facial changes, the best way to do it, I decided, was actually to put that off and then put either a smiling or happy face or a less concerned face than this one on. This is a great sort of standalone piece. That would have been fully animatronic. So just in the belly here, you can just see there are a couple of small holes here, and that's actually where there are a couple of power cables that went in. And then on the back of the puppet is an aluminium bar, which we've actually used to mount the display stand to as well. And that would have been used for puppeteering. So the likelihood is that this would have been seen when the belly wasn't in clear view. So it could have been when he's been carried around like this, or perhaps when he's in a box. Great condition, has had some sympathetic restoration. The foam latex in the fingers and the toes here, the mouth and the ears is reasonably delicate, but still in wonderful condition for his age. Next to that, from I Dream of Jeannie, stepping all the way back to 1965, it's one of the Genie's bottles from season one. And then just to the left of there, we have Forrest Gump's running trainers, played by Tom Hanks, where well, these are the famous trainers that he's wearing, custom made for to represent Nikes of that era when he's regaling his tales, but also when he runs across America. And that's why these look so worn and distressed. Because, of course, they're reporting to have been worn for nearly 3 years as he ran across the States. Thankfully, they don't smell like they've been worn for 3 years straight, but a wonderful pair of trainers all the same. So that's given you a good look at cabinet number one. From here, we're going to move on to some of the costumes that we have on display. Another rarity here, another piece that I think is just phenomenal to be out, still to exist. This is from The Godfather, 1972. This is Marlon Brando's overcoat. And this is the coat that's seen very, very clearly on screen. Actually, it was during the assassination scene. He was out, I think, buying fruit, and it's when he gets shot down. Well, I think we've got a shot of that. Actually, maybe the black and white still there. There we go. So we can see him there in this particular overcoat. Uh, Again, beautifully documented and great provenance with the fact that inside the overcoat itself still has the original costumer's label there. And we can see that with Marlon Brando's name in it as well. Moving over to something a little bit more modern from The Big Lebowski. This is the dude's costume, played by Jeff Bridges. Um, Again, to any fan of this film, you're going to know this immediately. Really exciting. We managed to screen match both the cardigan, I believe, on to a detail, some of the stitching and threading on one of the sleeves, and also to the pocket positioning on the trousers, or for our American colleagues on the pants. They were going, "What are trousers?" So on pants. So it's a screen match dude costume there. With a bunch of other really great material in from this film in this auction. We had some nice stuff in the last Los Angeles auction that took place in June. We've got some more in this one, so please tune in and check those out. Then moving across the stage from Pirates of the Caribbean, first of all at World's End, Barbosa's costume, worn by Geoffrey Rush, designed by Academy Award winner Penny Rose. I love the detailing on that. I mean, just look at the layering, the elements of it, right the way from the pendant necklace that she attached to the hat up there. Shouldn't normally be attached. In fact, it's not attached to the hat. It's on. I can see what we've done there. We've actually attached it to the fiberglass support structure for the hat. It's actually his earring there as well, his tooth earring. And then alongside that, perhaps the more recognisable to some people, again from Pirates of the Caribbean, but this one's on Stranger Tides. This is, of course, Jack Sparrow's, Johnny Depp's costume. Now, this is labelled as a stunt costume, but what's great about it is that it's a Johnny stunt costume. So it actually says in the labels Johnny stunt, so that we know that this would have been worn by Johnny Depp for some of his stunts. The outer part, the frock coat, and then the waistcoat, and then the shirt actually all had slits cut in them for wire work. The jacket and the waistcoat were subsequently sewn up. You can see on screen there some of the holes that are still present in the shirt. And then the hat itself is actually a hero hat. So it has a label inside the hat which says Johnny Depp or J Depp. There we go. We can actually see that on screen as well for you. So great set there. Really, really wonderful display. Alongside that, we have Maximus from Gladiator. So this is Maximus's hero cuirass. We also have his epaulette there, the shoulder, or the pauldron, I suppose. And then also the cingulum as well. I don't know whether you can get any shots of the cingulum there, which is actually quite important. You know, it's an unusual thing to draw attention to, but when we've seen these previously, it's been the stunt versions, which are made of a rubberized material covered with a leather finish. And then these details would be rubber as well, missing the cingulums. This one, it's all hero. So it's a fiberglass upper body. It's then covered with a leather or a leatherette. All of the details on here are white metal as well. Great to see the pauldron there with it too at the same time. So a really gorgeous set, both shoulders, front and back. Obviously, you can't see the back at the moment where it's positioned. The cingulum is also complete on the back as well. And the cingulum is made of leather webbing, leather strips with metal work. Those studs are actually metal on there too. To the side of that is Commodus's costume. So we've got the pair here together, which is really rare to see. Again, this Commodus costume is one that we sold probably about 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. It's an almost complete costume. It's got the upper body armor. It has all of the dressing, all the elaborate detailing on it. It's got the undergarments, the garments there, which are made of silk. Now, this is one of the rubberized versions. You can see some of the cracking and phrasing that's on here. And those were worn for the majority of the sequences, obviously, because they were high action. But they're also much more comfortable for the actors to wear as well. The badges here, which were used for dressing, but also when he wears a cloak, those are really the cloak pins, if you like. Those are actually hand-beaten metal work. And this screen matches as well. So this screen matches to the climactic final battle sequence in the arena where he fights with Maximus to his death. And that's matched through some of the paintwork, the distressing, some of the cuts that are in this as well, the dressing that's actually been put on there during production. Great pair of costumes. Obviously, Gladiator 2 currently in production, and we're all excited and looking forward to seeing that coming out next year. Back down in front of that, back to a little bit of sci-fi there to Star Wars. Now, this is actually from the more recent Star Wars, so this is from promotional purposes. This was used very heavily for the promotional purposes of the sequels. It's been used in adverts. It's been used in many of the red carpet events. It also been used for photo shoots as well. This is a fully drivable remote control unit. You can see we've got the lights on at the moment. We're not going to run it because we don't want to run it off the stage right now, but a fully practical R2-D2 unit. What's great about this is that it's also been autographed as well. So we have a number of different autographs on the back panel. It's been autographed by Kenny Baker and Dave Prowse. And then on the inside of the back panel, it's been autographed by a number of people, including Jeremy Bullock and Ben Burt as well. So great R2-D2 unit there, great display piece. sitting alongside something from a completely different period and era, and more fantasy. Of course, this is from Stargate. So this is a Hero Horus mask. This would have been worn by Jimon Honsu. And this is fully. I mean, this is an elaborate piece of work. This is an incredible piece of kit. I'm just going to very carefully. You know, this is it's very sturdy. So if I just move this slightly. I don't know whether you're getting that sound there, but just very gently, we're actually just running the servos there as we do that. So this is a fully articulated and animatronic headpiece. It's all fiberglass on the upper body, fiberglass down through the neck piece here as well. This would have been really heavy for the actor to wear. And then the collar here, just from a comfort perspective, is sort of like a heavy rubberized material as well. Wonderful to see it with all of the dressing details on here as well. I mean, just as a display piece alone, without its connection to Stargate, it's impressive. Really, really love that item. Okay, so I think that's just about covered everything that we have on the stage. I'm just going to hang out to see if we've had any questions. Anybody asking anything in particular at this stage? Perhaps not. No, I don't think so. Have we got any questions at the moment? No? Okay, fine. Well, we're going to move on. As I said, if you do have any specific questions, if you want to look at something in more close up while I'm talking about it, throw it up on the thread, and we can definitely see if we can do that for you. So last year this was the House of Horror, the Case of Horror. We've done something very similar again, as we got such a great response from it when we set this up last year. So I'm going to walk you through from top to bottom, or actually we'll go across the top here, I think, first of all. So we're looking at Halloween Resurrection there on the left-hand side from the 2002 film. That's the Michael Myers burnt mask. Across the other side of that, we have from Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3. So that's from the 1990 version. This is actually the facial appliance that has been mounted synthetically to present it in rather a horrific way. Scares the living pants off me. To display and also to support it as well. So there's a consideration there for not only making that look better by having it on the display, but also holding it to perform as well. And then going back to the middle, we have one of the first of the pieces from the Mario Perna collection. Been working with Mario now for a few years, offering his collection. These are the last of the hero pieces this year from Mario's collection. We've had great pleasure in offering them to collectors. They've gone to homes all over the world. But we've got four of his wonderful masks here. So in the middle there, we've got the Jason X mask, 2001. That's the Uber Jason mask. And then to the left-hand side, just over this way, there we go. From Friday the 13th, part 6, we've got the Jason stunt hockey mask. And then to the middle, we have from Jason X again. We have one of the more standard Jason masks, and it's screen matched as well. And then to the right of that, we have another screen match mask, and that's from Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, 1993. Yeah, I mean, what a set of masks there. If you're a Jason fan, these are going to be the holy grail for you. And then down below that to the right, we still have one of the machetes as well from the Jason films too. Coming across to the middle, it looks just like a simple script. You can probably see on the front cover here, it says The Shining. What's incredible about this is that this is a hand annotated script, annotated by Danny Kubrick himself. So there are a number of pages in this script that have his hand workings, his dialogue changes, his notes for production, and I mean, just a wonderful document that also gives you an insight into some of his genius as well, while this was a work in progress. And this actually ended up with a member of the senior staff at Stansted Airport, of all places, who was there during filming for some of the location work. That's where Scatman Brothers is at the airport, so they used Stansted Airport for that scene. And that's where this originates from many, many years ago. So great provenance with it as well. Just down below that, we've got a signature piece here from the Nightmare on Elm Street series from very, very first Nightmare on Elm Street, and then reused for part two. This, of course, is Freddy Glove. This is a special piece. I mean, this again is another piece of horror movie history. This is screen matched, it's photo matched. So I think we probably can pull up on the scene on the screen for you here. There we go. Some of the one, at least one of the photo matches that we have here are screen matches. And we're looking here at some of the sort of solder marks that you have within where the blades are mounted to the finger pieces. The leather glove itself, unfortunately, the original is lost and gone forever. So this is a replica leather work. This is the Hero fully articulated glove component, the metal glove component from the first film was then reused in the second film as well. And that's been confirmed but not only by the designer, but also by the maker too. And then look what comes with it. I mean, that's just phenomenal. This is the original design sketch as well. So that's the pencil and pen and ink design sketch for the glove, which spawned so many ideas for so many people over so many years subsequently. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we just got to give that a moment. I mean, that's just an astonishing thing to see in person. Down below there, we have from Pan's Labyrinth, we have Pan's eye hands and eyes. Which way we would go with those? They've been mounted by DDT, the creature and makeup effects, the amazing guys, David and Monsi at DDT, who made these for the film. They've been mounted on hand casts just to support those and for display purposes as well. We also have the Power Man's chest piece, the prosthetic appliance that he wore in the film as well in the auction. That's screen matched. So if you're a fan of Guillermo del Toro's work and Pan's Labyrinth, please check those out in the auction catalogue. And then we have a couple of great looking pieces from, I mean, now we've had Book of the Dead and the Book of the Living previously, the hero versions. These are the stunt versions. These are the more sort of lightweight versions that would have been used for action sequences and for running as well. So on the left there, we have the Book of the Dead, and the right, we have the one, which is the Book of the Living. So that was a pretty terrific walk through some of the incredible horror artifacts. Again, it really just scratches the surface of what we actually have in the auction. So please check out, I keep saying check out the catalogue. There's 1,800 lots, nearly 1,800 lots in the auction. Take some time and work your way through it. And this guy is pretty horrific as well. This is, of course, Pennywise from It, Chapter 2. Now, the actual original components, the original elements of this are some of the makeup appliances on here that have then been mounted onto a replica bust and display piece to make this really quite a terrifying and impressive display of this particular character, who, of course, was played by Bill Skarsgård. I love that. I mean, just to take something like the appliances, save the appliances from being lost forever, but then to turn it into something like this is really quite phenomenal. Okay, so we're going to jump on some of the costumes up the back of the stage here from Batman from 1989, Tim Burton film. The first of the Tim Burton films. This is the Batsuit. Again, this is a costume piece that we sold a number of years ago. It's really fun for us to see some of these pieces come back through our hands after so many years. This is the suit that was worn post Batwing crash. So when the Batwing crashes at the base of the Gotham Cathedral, this is the suit that he's then wearing from that moment onwards. So that checking and distressing is all about that. And then you can see on the top there in the middle, we have a distressed and burnt emblem as well. So that's made of rubber. For the hero suits, that was actually made of a cast 2 or 3 piece resin. But it's actually made of a rubber as well. Next to that, we have one of the really intricate and very visual spacesuits from The Martian. This is actually made of multiple suits from different characters, so we're not going to attribute to this to one particular character. It is labeled. And then the helmet is actually one of the promotional helmets that was given away to promote the film during the release period, and it's actually signed by Ridley Scott on the top of it as well. Sticking with spacesuits next to that from Alien Covenant. Actually, both of these were made by FBFX, the incredibly talented guys at FBFX, who make some of the most spectacular spacesuits I think that are used for films today. This is Tennessee's spacesuit. This is screen matched Tennessee spacesuit, which is Danny McBride. Like that. Again, we've got some great video of this. We've got some great photos of this all lit up if you want to check out the catalogue. To the right of that, changing genre a little bit to a period film Titanic, James Cameron's Titanic. I think this still remains something like fourth highest grossing film of all time. This, of course, is Leonardo DiCaprio's costume, the costume that we see him wear for the majority of the film. Comes with exceptional provenance. So this is labeled on both the inside of the back of the waistcoat with Leonardo DiCaprio's name, as well as on the trousers as well, and the waistband of the trousers. And then in addition to that, it comes with a certificate of authenticity from 20th Century Fox as well, which actually specifically states on it, worn by Jack Leonardo DiCaprio. Great set that there. It's really rare for us to see some costumes from Titanic come to market. We do have some of the life jackets and also some of the other props and some of the model miniatures actually in the auction as well. Now we have a couple of pieces from Blade Runner. Now these are part of the Jeff Hitchings collection. Jeff was an avid and highly passionate collector and curator, and if you like, almost archivist of anything and everything Blade Runner that he could find over some 20 to 30 years. Unfortunately, Jeff is no longer with us, and so these are being offered to collectors now by his family. And there's an extensive array of materials from props, costumes, weapons, model miniature pieces, passing through items, ephemera, scripts, etc. So please, again, take a look at the full catalogue. Two wonderful pieces there. Harrison Ford's director's chair, and then an A unit board too, which has, as you can see, Ridley Scott's name on there, and then the date that that was last used for filming as well. Sticking with Jeff's collection, we have Zora's costume, the costume worn by Joanna Cassidy. As you can see, the leotard underneath here is part of the special effects version that was used, as is the bra section here, if you like. That would have had squibs mounted into it and around it with blood packs, which is the blood that you can still see here on it today. And then you have this clear vinyl coat that went over the top of this. And then also you have the sort of, I suppose you'd call these greaves, and these would sit over the top, excuse me, sit over the top of her boots that have this great spike detailing on here as well, which you can see clearly on screen. This comes complete with the custom mannequin too, so that's all part and parcel with that particular lot. Sticking with sci-fi, we have Captain's costume, Patrick Stewart's Captain Picard's costume from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Great costume, this instantly recognizable to any Trek fans. It comes complete with its hero badge and then also the metal pips that you can see on here that designate it as a captain's costume. Further down the costume, you can see for season 1 and season 2, where they have the pocket for the phaser as well. We can tell that this is a season 1, season 2 costume because for season 3 onwards, they actually changed it to a two-piece costume. Of course, there are many gifs out there of all of the crew pulling down their tunics as they rode up, and then on the inside of this costume as well, there's actually one of the costumers' labels which designates it as a Patrick #1. So this is a #1 costume for Patrick Stewart, Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm sure a lot of fans of Next Gen have probably watched Picard recently, so it's all very relevant, highly collectible, and yeah, a wonderful outfit. So just checking in to see if we have any questions. Anybody's asking to look at anything in more detail or more close up? No, I think we're all clear at the moment. Okay, cool. So we're going to move into the last cabinet. I hope you're all still awake and finding this interesting. I'm enjoying going through this stuff. I mean, one of the things that I love about the hobby is just the amount of new people who I speak to on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. You know, it's a fascinating stat for me to look at when we're looking at the metrics behind the scenes about who's bidding and where the bidding comes from. And not many people are going to know that we have nearly 30% of new bidders with every auction that we hold. So all of these new people coming into the collecting ecosystem are also as passionate and engaging as some of the people that I've known in this hobby for 30 years now. So We're going to move on to the last cabinet. We're nearly there, and we're going to start at the top of this cabinet. On the left-hand side here, from Superman. So this will be from the first film. This is an original filming model miniature. He's predominantly made of resin or a resin fiberglass mix. Does have a cloth cape on it as well. I'm not going to turn that any further, actually, George, but it does have the Superman S logo emblazoned on the back. And obviously, you can see he's fully painted and detailed with the S here as well. There's a little hole in the forehead there, which you can actually, that was used for a fix work, so it would slide along a monofilament or fishing line, if you like. So it'd be for a long shot, for distant shots. You wouldn't see something like this used in close up. But the reason why they make the cape like this with cloth is, as you can see there, if I just flick it very carefully, brings some life to it. So it doesn't just look too rigid as you see it on film. Back to Batman, a main unit board from the Tim Burton '89. You can see the director's name, and again, the last day of filming there emblazoned on the bottom of it, the 24th of January 1989. And it was a day internal shot. So and then to the right of that, E.T. Most people are going to recognize the face of this fella. And this is from the Universal Studios ride for E.T. And if I can just gently rotate this, there we go. We can see to the side, so it's not a full head. And that's because, and for any of you who are lucky enough to go on the ride, I went on it a number of times, loved it. The EC head was actually sort of wrapped in a white blanket or over the top. I think it was white. Well, it was wrapped in a blanket over the top anyway. So they didn't have to make the full head. So what you have is just the partial that you could see through as ET was sitting on the basket in front of the bike. Moving down the cabinet here, we have on the left-hand side from Boardwalk Empire, a little bit of freaky looking face appliance. Of course, that's the prop face appliance that's worn by Richard Harrow in the TV series, as he's a war veteran and been injured during the war. And so really sort of lifelike and quite spooky with the spectacles on there as well. Tron in the middle of the cabinet there. And then to the right-hand side, from the mask, one of the masks. Back to Batman in the middle. So the reason that you can see a slight difference between these bat emblems is because one of these is from the '89 Batman, so the first Batman film, and then the second one from Batman Returns. So those are hero styles. And so these are actually sort of made of a resin material. And I talked earlier about how the other style was made of rubber. Over to the left-hand side from Superman 3. So this is the kryptonite that was actually made, the faux kryptonite that was made to try and trick Superman, made by Gus, played by Richard Pryor. Great distressing and tacking detailing on here as well. We had a light underneath this the other day, and it just lights up beautifully as well. Really, really vivid and visual pieces. Across to the right-hand side, sorry, George, making your way backwards and forwards and right the way across here. This is from Batteries Not Included. I'm hoping that you can pick up on some of the detail on this, and I don't know whether I can just do a gentle rotation on this as well, because this is a beautifully built miniature. Just rotate that around. And just look at some of the wonderful detail on this, made by the amazingly talented guys at ILM. So this is a hero model from Batteries Not Included, and so it's Jetsam. It would have originally been used and mounted on a motion control rod for filming and for some of those famous flying sequences. And the legs are actually, just very gently, you can see I can move that, they're actually articulated as well. So really detailed hero close-up model miniature. Sticking with model miniature robots, I suppose. The black hole, it says it emblazoned there across all three of these display stands. So from the black hole, we have three miniatures. Two of these are filming miniatures. So on the left-hand side, we have Vincent. And on the right-hand side, we have a rather battered and beaten up Bob. Those were both used for filming purposes. And then in the middle here, we have a very impressive looking Maximilian. Maximilian wasn't a filming miniature. This would have been used really as a maquette, probably something like an art department reference maquette, or it could have been a maquette that was built to determine exactly how they were going to build out the full size Maximilian of practical purposes as well. So two filming miniatures, one either side there, and then the art department bouquet. Okay, on to the next cabinet. We're going to take you right up to the top here. This rather freaky looking fembot head. Amazingly, this is from the Bionic Woman, 1976 to 1978. So we're going back a little ways there. So this is a fembot head from the Bionic Woman. Look at those beady eyes just staring out you. I think the eyes are actually replacements, if I remember rightly, that have been positioned for display purposes, but the actual head itself is all of the original detailing. I just love the sort of diodes and old electronics that you have there, and that probably looks like a part of an old speaker in the middle of it. There's the mouth there too. And then to the right-hand side from Captain America, the first Avengers, 2011. So this is the USO style of the shield, and this is a special effects version. So if we look in here, if we can come in close here, this is actually the remains of a special effects squib. So squibs are used, they're sort of like a very small depth charge that would have been covered perhaps in this instance with some like blue colored putty. And they fire that off when they want it to look like, in this instance, perhaps a bullet has hit it. So this was the sort of shield that, of course, Captain America uses as he's going out on tour initially, and then uses it for one of his first major fight sequences as well. To the left of that, we have one of the hero style, more standard or more recognized Captain America shields. So, of course, in the film, was designed by Howard Stark, Tony Stark's father, made of vibranium in the film. This one is made of machined aluminium. Again, beautifully distressed and text, so it looks like it's got a bunch of bullet hits across the top of it here. And then on the reverse side of this as well, it actually has all the hero detailing and dressing too. So you have all the leather webbing and strapping that you'd expect to see. And actually, to pick it up, it's quite a heavy piece as well. But yeah, a really wonderful hero display prop from the first Avenger. Down to the right of that, another hero piece from Captain America again. This is actually Captain America Civil War. This is Iron Man's helmet. So this is a Robert Downey Jr. helmet. This is a light up version, as you can see. It's got light up eyes here. So it's a hero version. If you sort of angle the camera down, you can see there are actually slots there, which would have allowed Robert Downey Jr. to actually be able to see through there. Elements of this are actually magnetized. They're fixed on here with magnets. So the faceplate is magnetic, the lower part of the jaw is magnetic, and the back of the head is magnetic. A couple of reasons for that. One is to allow to get in and out of it. But also there were occasions where it would be filmed with the faceplate off, either for comfort reasons or for storyline reasons. They would either digitally overlay that, so that part of it is removable as well. And then there's a label on the inside of the mask too, excuse me, which designates it as a Hero RDJ, as we can see there for Robert Downey Jr. So great piece, that one as well. Uh, Changing genres completely. This knocked us off our socks when this came through the door. This, incredibly, is Lee Van Cleef's hat from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly from the 1966 film, where we see Lee Van Cleef play Angel Eyes, or the Bad. I mean, what's particularly exciting about this is just the provenance with it. As much as this hat's still been in existence, this has actually come to us from a family who got to know Lee Van Cleef really well during film production time. And we have a number of personal photos of Lee Van Cleef with the family, with the child that he gave the hat to, who is part of the consigners now. So beautifully documented as well. I mean, this is probably considered one of the greatest Western films of all time. And there is his signature hat. In the middle now, we have from Thunderball. I think most Bond fans are going to recognize that illustration almost immediately from the 1965 film. This is the hand-painted Robert McGuinness poster artwork. So this is the artwork which was subsequently used on all of those Bond posters during that era. I think it's synonymous with the way that we see Bond, and incredibly visual, and it's just a privilege and an honor for us to be handling that as well. Actually, if we go down from that as well, We've got another piece of artwork there, which is actually a costume design from My Fair Lady, 1964. Some vintage pieces here today for you, which is hand drawn. Cecil Beaton, Eliza Doolittle, played by Audrey Hepburn. And this is actually the costume that she wears in the embassy ball. So that's the sketch for her costume there. Great detailing on it. Obviously, it's covered at the moment with clear film just to protect it. Changing genres completely, couldn't be further removed from that. To the right of that, this is from All Quiet on the Western Front. So the Academy Award winning film just came out in 2022. And this is the screen-matched helmet that's worn by Paul Palmer in the lead role. And actually, this helmet's great because you have the sort of the bullet hole here, which is a part of the storyline, but also with this distressing and detailing on it, we can photo match and screen match this to all the posters and the DVD front cover, the publicity material, as well as actually matching it up on the screen as well. I'm running out of voice, but I hope you're still hearing me loud and clear. Oh, got a question here. Oh, okay. Right. Somebody's asking to have a close-up look at the V mask here. So down to the bottom of the cabinet, we have the V for Vendetta mask. Now, this is a hero version of the V mask. There were many of these V masks made, and we sold a few of these over the years that we acquired from Warner Brothers through Warner Brothers. This is a hero Hugo weaving. So the way that you can tell the difference between the styles of V masks is the hero versions are made of a resin fiberglass polished on the inside of it. Generally speaking, they're labeled on the inside as well, whereas the background versions are actually more of a sort of a lightweight vacuum form material. So this is a hero one of the masks. So hope you enjoyed having a closer look at that. Sorry, I missed it on my tour. Nearly got everything. Okay, so I think we're going to come across to a couple of costumes now. These are the last couple of costumes that I'm going to talk to you about today. Hey, hey. But they're exciting costumes. They're great costumes. To the James Bond, the very last James Bond film starring Daniel Craig, No Time to Die. This is Daniel Craig's custom Tom Ford tuxedo. This is great. See if I can just open this up very carefully and have a look on the inside. There we go. If we open this up, it's actually, let me just see if I can get to this. Sorry, George. I know your shoulder's probably hurting a little bit. There we go. So that says on the inside of there, Daniel Craig, James Bond. And in fact, not only is that stitched into the jacket, but we also see that on the shirt labels, on the Tom Ford labels. It's actually printed into the Tom Ford label on the shirt, and it's also printed into the labels in the trousers as well. And in addition to that, this comes with a certificate of authenticity from Eon. Lovely detailing on that, and just synonymous, of course, with the James Bond character to see him in a tuxedo. And I think this particular tuxedo would have been worn in the scene where James Bond is revealed as an infiltrator at the Spectre gathering. So a very key scene in the film as well. So from the very last James Bond film to the very first James Bond film, to know, 1962, this is Ursula Andress's robe in her role as Honey Rider. So the very first James Bond girl as well. We've got a photo, I think, that we can show you of both Mr. Andress and Sean Connery wearing their robes. Fascinating factoid about this particular garment is that it was not ever meant to be made or used on the James Bond film. This was actually repurposed at the last minute. The production approached another production that was working at Pinewood Studios, asked to borrow it, used it for this key sequence in the film as James Bond and Honey Rider are going through their decontamination process. Dr. No's compound, and then gave it back afterwards. And it comes with a letter of authenticity from the lady who was working on the other film, who it was borrowed from at the time. So just a staggering provenance with that as well, and a lovely little backstory too at the same time. So that's the last of the costume pieces that I've got for you today. I didn't think that I could leave you without talking about this little fellow here, shall we say, a little bit further. I mean, just come in and have a look at the eye detailing on here, George. It's just staggering, this thing, and the size and the scale of this. So this is from a Monster Calls 2016 film. Yeah, you can come back up again if you like. Sorry, mate. So, yeah, I mean, I just love. I mean, you've got to be a passionate collector to have the room for this. But just look at the finish on it, the detailing. Again, this was made by DDT, who did Pan's Labyrinth. We talked about them earlier on, David and Monse. This would have been used for lighting and stand-in purposes. We also have in the auction full-size articulated hand as well. So for interaction with the actors on the studios, in the same way that that would have been used for lighting and for stand-in purposes and for interaction, the articulated hand would have actually been used with to interact with on set at the same time. Um, so I've covered a lot. It really just scratches the surface. As I said to you previously, if you would like to come and have a look at this in person, please do reach out to us at Prop Store to make an appointment. If you'd like to make a Zoom call with us to have a look at something more closely, we can do that for you as well. The full catalogue, I know you're chomping at the bit to see it, goes live on October the 10th. So it's just under a week now until the full catalogue is live. Bidding commences at the same time as well, and then the auction takes place over 4 days from November the 9th. First 2 days are live at Bifta 195 Piccadilly in London. So please come along if you're local. Come and attend. We love to see people there. Last year's event there was great fun. The second day is going to be music as the afternoon session, and our music employment director and specialist Mark is going to talk to you about some of the music content in more depth next week. And then the evening session is going to be some of the secondary Anthony Daniels content. So we're going to see Anthony's primary pieces, the head, the hands, the feet, and some of his scripts and things sell on day one. And the evening session on day two will be the Anthony Daniels collection. And then day three and day four will be live bidding, online only. So no in-person bidding. So that'll be at propstore.com/live auction. I hope you enjoyed this and you stuck with me through this. If you decide to bid, good luck. And thank you very much for watching me this afternoon.